Hi, this is Jen Rubin, editor-in-chief of The Contrarian. I'm delighted to have with us today Ilan Goldenberg, who is a contributor of The Contrarian and is an expert on many things, including Ukraine and including issues emanating from the Middle East. So I'm so glad you could join us today, Ilan.
Thanks for having me, Jen. Great to be here.
Sure. So as a result of talks that were going on between Ukraine and the United States and Saudi Arabia, there was an announcement. What was that announcement and what does that entail for Ukraine?
So the announcement was a 30-day ceasefire that Ukraine and the U.S. have agreed to in terms of going forward. Part of that would then involve, assistance for Ukraine being turned back on. But I think it's still too early to tell precisely what we are looking at here. First of all, the announcement is contingent on the Russians also agreeing to it. And then even if they do, frankly, the Ukrainian position has been not interested in a ceasefire so far because the Russians are still holding a lot of Ukrainian territory and the Russians are the aggressor here. If you freeze the conflict where it stands, I think Ukraine has still lost a lot of territory. Pressure Ukraine into this kind of agreement in the first place, and now it seems that Trump is doing that.
And it seems that Ukraine had just unleashed a drone attack in Russia that appeared to have done quite a bit of damage. So whatever momentum they were building up there, I assume it would be interrupted if they had some kind of ceasefire.
Yeah, I think that's true. Although the counter is that this war has been going on for so long and is pretty much not exactly like a war of attrition at this point, but pretty much hit a war of attrition where the lines don't really move all that much. So look, I'm personally deeply uncomfortable with the approach that Donald Trump has taken to Ukraine overall and his kind of love fest, especially with Vladimir Putin. But look, a ceasefire is a ceasefire. If you get to it, then I do hope that they can make the best of it, try to end the war in a way that saves people's lives and ensure Ukraine's sovereignty is as protected as possible. And if Vladimir Putin doesn't come out the winner from all this, I just have very little faith in Donald Trump that that's going to be where this ends up.
Certainly, I would think that Putin's expectations for whatever outcome have been raised because he has Donald Trump there saying he was willing to cut off aid once, presumably willing to cut off aid again. So is this an ideal position for negotiating where you signal to the opponents that you're ready to dump your ally?
No, this is a more fundamental issue with Donald Trump. He really enjoys beating up on his Democratic allies, whether it's Ukraine or it's Europe, to have a lot of sympathy for the Putins and the Xis of the world. And that doesn't get you good outcomes when you're doing tough negotiations with these guys. You know what I'm saying? He's, as a guy who calls himself a deal maker, just a little bit of flattery seems to go a really long way with this deal maker, especially if your values align with his. And frankly, those aren't the values the United States has been promoting, over the last, I'd say, 250 years, certainly since World War II.
Now, speaking of U.S. values, we had a bizarre incident over the weekend that a student who is here on a green card, who had protested at Columbia against Israel, and in some ways, frankly, very laudatory of Hamas that disturbed a great many people, was picked up by ICE, shipped off to Louisiana without consulting his wife, his lawyer, and is being threatened now with deportation. What do you make of this? And how should Americans of all types, regardless of what their position on the Hamas-Israel war, what should they be concerned about here?
Sure. So look, Jen, like you said, the phenomenon of anti-Semitism on campuses real, and some of the things that the student has done, I would fundamentally disagree with. However, this, in my mind, is a very disturbing incident that is unlikely to actually curb anti-Semitism in any way, and also just tramples all over the rights of Americans. Especially, he is a green card holder, which means he has, a very high level of, expectation of due process and, rule of law and rights as a green card holder, all of which seem to have been trampled over. And if anything, just make the, anti-Semitism on Columbia's campus worse, while also, riling things up, right? And so this is my concern. I mean, like what you saw with the president's remarks was, it was clear it was about speech, right? President's like, I don't like this guy, like on his posts on Truth Social, calling him a terrorist, where, again, I'm not gonna agree with his political views, but like there's no evidence of acts of terrorism. And if the administration has any, like as a green card holder, they should be putting those out there before they, put somebody behind bars and try to deport them. And look, if you're a Jewish student at Columbia right now, first of all, the university has lost a ton of resources because the administration also cut off a lot of funding for Columbia. So that's a penalty on you personally. And now you're if anything, you're more of a target, because like all this stuff that the Trump administration is doing, which is really their woke, like their war on like woke liberal institutions, they're doing it in the name of Jews. So like Jews then become the target in retaliation. And I imagine you see potentially significant protests again at Columbia. And actually things have been going a lot better on college campuses this year. Not perfect, but a lot better. I think this is just going to stir the hornet's nest. And if it does, like the Trump administration will be happy to like get on its high horse again and further stir the hornet's nest. And it's like a nice political winner for them, while just making things worse for American Jews.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that Trump is really appealing to his right-wing Christian base, his evangelical base. Jews voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. And although there was a lot of talk about how he was the pro-Israel president, American Jews did not see it that way. And moreover, the Jewish community has I think, obligation and a dedication to due process, to constitutional government, because it protects us. And I was very disturbed to see the ADL not only not condemning this, but cheering this on the assumption that somehow it had been proven that he was giving material support to Hamas. I frankly find that shocking. I don't know if you had a reaction to it, or if you've heard from others within the Jewish community.
Yeah, I mean, I was also upset by that, though not necessarily super surprised given where the ADL has gotten on certain issues. For example, even their response to Elon Musk a month ago and the issue with the Heil Hitler salute on Inauguration Day. But there are a lot of voices speaking out in the American Jewish community who are doing good work and raising concerns about this. Like whether it's JCPA, Amy Spitalnik's group, New York Jewish Agenda, which is an organization that's been created to represent progressive Jews, J Street, a lot of organizations, including more mainstream ones. I think that just looking through my Twitter feeds and my Blue Sky feeds and my Facebook feeds, like American Jews who, and as I think like I was the Jewish outreach director for the Harris Walls campaign, so I dealt with this issue every day. Those people populate my feeds all day long, and the overwhelming response has been like, this is disturbing, because who knows, next they could come for us. And that is the history that Jews have learned throughout history. So we really need to fight for, this guy to have due process and have his rights respected, even if we fundamentally disagree with his view on what's happening in Gaza.
And I have to stress this for our audience. Today, it's this guy. Tomorrow, it could be a Ukrainian student here on a green card who says this ceasefire is an outrage. Trump is in the pocket of Putin. Are they entitled to pick him off the street, ship him off to Louisiana and deport him? I think most Americans would be appalled. So I would hope that Americans can disentangle whatever their views about the nature of the protests and his specific country of origin, place of origin from this issue, that we don't go around snatching up green card holders, which is really a permanent resident status that is as close to nationalization as you can get, because we don't like what they're saying. And moreover, who's to say what American position is. There are many Americans who probably agree with this. It's really, aren't we talking about whether Donald Trump doesn't like what they're saying? We haven't had any finding of American position on a particular issue. There is no such thing. We have free speech. We have debate in this country.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Well, it is another disturbing trend. And again, I think it's these two issues, Ukraine and the potential deportation of this person, are very much linked. This administration has a foreign policy that is all over the map and is in many ways dangerous and antithetical to American values. So the ability to be able to protest and to point these things out, I think, is absolutely fundamental. So we'll be continuing to look at the issue. Thank you so much, Ilan. We'll look forward to next time.